reading specialists were starting to do is going into classrooms, guiding teachers, providing them with the professional development situation by situation, and we were seeing more success, along with pulling kids that really needed that extra help, and there are lots of creative ways to do that. When you get up into the middle school and high school level, it gets a little more tricky to pull kids. They now have particular courses that they have to take to meet graduation requirements. When you're speaking about adolescence, it really gets more to self-esteem and psychological issues of pulling kids out of classrooms. When you pull kids out, they're always going to miss something. And that thing they're missing is just as important as what it is that you're going to do with them. And again, you're not targeting the teacher. So if I were changing their reading instruction in my class, but then sending them back to a teacher who was continuing to do what he or she would normally do, then that, it seems counterbalanced. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So in Stafford County, we were really starting to do more coaching as reading specialists. And then as coaching is really taken a hold based on some state and federal funding mandates, and there have been streams of money that have been available to schools who bring in qualified instructional coaches and to work specifically with teachers. And fortunately, Stafford County was, able to come up with some funds, and frankly, the principals were asking for it. Just because you get to middle school and high school doesn't mean that you can read, and that you can read proficiently and effectively. And so it's a big concern with adolescent literacy, and happily and thankfully that's really been on the radar of politicians now, and so we have a lot more money going into adolescent literacy. And when you have that big political push behind you, the money often comes. And so Stafford now and in surrounding counties now have people deemed specifically as literacy coaches, working strategically with teams of teachers, individual teachers, to really beef up their literacy instruction no matter what their content area. So it's really been nice. The other thing that they're doing as well is continuing to work with students. That's important to maintain the coach's credibility, but keeps them in touch with adolescent learning needs. And then they can validate what they're doing in their own classrooms, and then go to teachers and say, hey, this is working with my students, why don't you try this? It's a great technique. So Stafford's really seeing a lot of success. Hopefully we're going to start maybe some research with some of their success with Dr. Nancy Guth, who is their supervisor of literacy and humanities in the county. So we're really looking forward to that.
Now, speaking of Dr. Guth, I know that you and she have recently published a book on literacy coaching, and in that book you talk about the 5 pillars of literacy coaching. What are those 5 pillars?
We did. We actually were very excited. We've worked hard on this project for the last year and a half, and it's being published by Corwin Press. It is out now. It's called Literacy Coaching for Adolescent Learning. And we speak of kind of the evolution, just as I spoke of earlier, the evolution of literacy coaching, how important it is to go into the school either with a job description or sitting down with a principal to really have a clear understanding of your role in the school. That's very important. And then on to, we talk about the 5 pillars. If you're teaching with adolescents, you really need to target time. Students need time to read. Reading is like any other skill. It develops when you practice, and practice with the right techniques. So we talk about in the book in the context of giving students time and also teachers time. Teachers need time to teach, and they need time to learn.
And that's tough in today's society where we have all these high stakes testing going on.
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you make that time?
Absolutely, and that's why the pull-out model isn't always conducive when you're looking at that time, because it's always a struggle. Where are you going to pull the children out of? And what are they going to miss? So they need time to read. As we spoke of earlier, they need strong vocabulary strategies. We discourage going to the dictionary for every word you don't know.
Yeah.
You're going to encounter hundreds and hundreds of words that you don't know over the course of your lifetime. Teachers can't teach them all. So we talk about the context of really using those systems of chunks of meanings of words and teaching what those mean, so that when kids get in all classrooms, it doesn't matter what content area, they're able to take apart that word and at least figure part of it out and then go on with their reading.
Yeah.
So that's very helpful. We talk about strategies. All teachers are teachers of literacy in some extent, and that's a philosophical shift that I try very hard to talk about in my classes here. It doesn't matter if you're teaching science. If you set up a lab for your kids to do, they have to read those instructions. They are drawing conclusions and inferring. So, you know, you're a teacher of literacy. And so you as a teacher need some strategies of how you can meet the needs of those students. So the literacy coach can really help with comprehension strategies.
Yeah.
The other thing we talk about is choice. Adolescents in particular are very kind of particular about what they want to read.
Right.
They want to read materials that
They
are
want to read
relevant to
themselves.
them.
Yeah.
So oftentimes we're limited with our resources in schools, and we're putting books in front of children that they're absolutely not interested in. And so along with that time factor, it's important to provide kids with materials that they want to read. Not textbooks, but it could be graphic novels, it could be magazines, a lot of gaming instructions now that kids want to read, internet, all of that is reading, but it's a great idea to give children choice.
Sure.
Absolutely. And then the last one that kind of wraps everything up is motivation. Children are just like adults. We want to read for a purpose. Why am I reading this? Why are you asking me to read this? So we need to find lots of ways to motivate children and to make what we're asking them to do in classrooms relevant. And so that's where a literacy coach can help with motivation too.
You know, literacy coaching, it's another way to meet the needs of the student, the individual student. I mean, we can't keep going in this assembly model of, you know, an industrial conveyor belt type education. I mean, students are different, and they all have their own needs, and some of them need a little help with literacy, some need help with this and that. They have their learning styles. So literacy coaching to me seems to be another way to try and reach out and help a child that needs it.
Absolutely. And in order to do that, the teacher needs to be the one. It all revolves around good instruction. So literacy coaching came out of this, you know, the traditional sit and get professional development, where we could pick out of a catalog and we could go to any professional development session, probably somewhere, you know, within the county or even in another district, and get points. Or districts would bring people in to deliver kind of a one-size-fits-all professional development, and everybody walks away and says, well, that wasn't relevant to me. That's not going to work in my classroom. You know, or you learn something great and 3 weeks later you've forgotten and you don't institute it in your own classroom. So where literacy coaching can really come in and kind of negate that assembly line professional development is the coach comes in. Each school is so very different, has their own needs, their own culture, their own resources, their own instructional leaders as far as the administration goes. And so the literacy coach can come in and perform that professional development, perhaps for the whole school, if there's something school-wide that the administration wants to focus on. So that's one form. Or he or she, again, can meet with individual teachers, and that teacher can say, Tammy, I'm having a problem with comprehension strategies in my history classroom of 8th graders. What can we do to help them read the textbook more effectively? So right there you're targeting that teacher's instruction, which is going to funnel down into the students. And again, you're always using data, whether it's data from the teacher or data from you know, student assessments, informal observations. So it's really a much more efficient and targeted way to change classroom instruction to benefit students.
Yeah. Tammy, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.